Hey guys, Tim Melvin here. How are you today? Coming to you, of course. Those of you that are on the flagship report mailing list got an email from T today, and if you've been around at all, maybe you recognize it because, yep, it was. It was absolutely styled after all of the big promos for newsletters that you get from the big publishers. Where here's this double secret, top secret stock only known to me that I'm going to share with you. As soon as you read down to this stuff, then you read down to this stuff, and you got to buy the newsletter or whatever to get it. Now, I didn't do it that way. I was a little promotional. It's a biotech stock that you would not normally expect from me, given my deep value and fundamental momentum bent. Let's talk about what I did there. Um, the big question every day when you sit down in a publisher's meeting at any type of publisher is what's hot? What can we sell? What do we put on the cover? What do we title the book? What should the newsletter be about? What are people going to stand in line to buy? And biotech comes in and out of flavor, but look, you biotech's always got some stories that are potentially life changing. They can save your life. They stock can go from 1 to 100. I mean, when you look for the biggest movers list for biotech every day, for stock market in general every day, biotech dominates both lists, the winners and the losers for short-term moves. So about the third time I got a promotion touting the wonder molecule that is going to fix cancer forever and we're all going to get rich. AC225 is the name of this particular wonder drug. I did some research on this. Now, I've always been kind of interested in biotech, and we've come up with different ideas. And if you've been around, a while, you know that our mantra is if it can be tested, it must be tested. So we've tested a lot of things in biotech, and we've had a certain success with biotech companies that are profitable. Um, I have a friend who knows the chemistry of biotechnology pretty well, and he understands the drug business. And he always shorted phase two approvals and did remarkably well. That was years ago. The borrow's a lot tougher now. That still works, by the way, because there's always an overreaction to the phase two. But we've never really come up with the theory, especially for the um, clinical stage where they're still testing and kind of figuring things out. Um, and really, without the PhD or MD behind your name, that's always been a tough one. People used to get excited about this is a biotech stock trading for less than net cash. Well, they're all trading for less than net cash because they did an IPO, they got some funding sources, they got a bunch of cash in. Now they're blowing it back out the door, spending it, developing new drugs, trials, regulatory stuff, and it's just tough to get a handle on that. Now, um, Verdad and Associates, Dan Rasmussen and his firm have always been cutting edge, whether it's fixed income, credit spreads, deep value. They're out there on the front end of the curve with their research. Tremendous amount of respect for Dan and his team. And they just came out and they've been working on this for a while with a new approach to biotech stocks. And it's 100% quantitative. You can do it just with a few simple screens, few simple formulas. So now I don't want to do a newsletter on biotech. I don't know enough about how they works, what doesn't work. But I can follow what's in Dan's report. I can do that. I have the databases. I have the information. It's pretty cool. It's based on smart money buying and insider buying and the amount of money being spent on research and development and trials. And so I can replicate that. I can do that. And I'm going to do that. And it's not going to be something that I'm going to charge more for. It's going to be free inside the regular flagship report. We'll probably do it about once every 3 months as institutional holdings change. And I'm not going to, I'm going to tell you who the companies are, maybe a little bit about what they're working on. And yeah, it's going to be the institutional favorites that also have insider buying, that are also spending a lot of money on R&D and various types of trials and meet all the little boxes that Dan and his team had in the report. As I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a PhD. I don't know a lot about what does and doesn't work. I do know that these specific talking points are important. important. The big one is the biotech specialist investment firms. There's a group of hedge funds out there. If you're willing to do the weeding and digging, you can find the universe of companies that invest in biotech, and then you can find the ones that are actually good at investing in biotech. And if you have cross ownership and insider buying, you're on the right track. So I'm just going to give you the list. What you do with it is up to you. I'm also going to give you the list of the biotech stocks that Dan is actually buying, that have some insider buying and some institutional buying, that are being bought by Dan and his team at Verdad Associates. And again, I'm not a biotech expert. I'm not going to put on the hype hat and do a whole bunch of malarkey trying to convince you that I am and that I should upsell you to this new newsletter. I'm just going to give it to you. Now, in the piece that we sent out today, the one thing I did different than all the hype clowns in introducing you to AC225, so gave you all the stocks. We gave you the foreign stocks. We gave you the domestic stocks. We gave you the ones that have some things in trial. We gave you the ones in Europe that are actually producing the isotopes. So we did a little hypey to get your attention. And you know what? This went out free. This was on the free list. Didn't charge anybody a dime. We gave you all the stocks. Now, if you're curious, my favorite there, and the ones that I think have the absolute most attention, so that I'm probably wrong about this, I think IBA, with their cross ownership of one of the big isotope providers, is a big deal. I'm looking for all my symbols. I think Novartis and I think Bayer all have big roles to play. But I said, not charging you for that, anybody for that one. We just sent it out. But for those of you that are flagship premium members, about every 3 months, you're just going to get a list and go, look, here's the biotechs spending the money in the right places. Some of the smartest people in the world that have proven they can make money in the space are buying the stock, and the insiders, who we're going to assume know something about biotech, are also buying the stock. Maybe you want to take a look at it at current levels. So that was just my way of kind of teasing you. You know, we're going to add this to flagship premium, and we've already got, of course, the income portfolio, which is just crushing it right now. The deep value small cap portfolio. We've got the deep value momentum portfolio, also killing it right now, and the REIT portfolio, which is, I'm going to say turning around, collecting dividends long term. If you're in a total return investor, you got to be looking at that one. Remember something, in past crashes that were not called the Great Financial Crisis, i.e. directly caused by real estate, REITs did much better and often offered positive rates of return, even as the markets were going kaboom. So it's just an add-on. It's something that I think could make you a lot of money. And look, this needs to be considered your speculative money, right? You take a little bit of cash, you buy little teeny tiny positions. One of these hits, it makes you enough money from a teeny tiny position to make a difference. So, and we told you when we started that as we came across things, we would tell you about them. And we've done an okay job of that. And okay is not enough. Right. So we're going to start trying to do a better job of that. When we read trials, we see research from different practitioners or investment firms like AQR or Verdad or Alpha Architect, and it looks like it can make you money, then, you know, I'm going to go ahead and write about that. I'll give you some examples, tell you what the factors are involved, and it'll be mostly quantitative stuff, not qualitative. I find that numbers are so much more reliable than stories. And we're going to get it out there, and we're going to share that with you, and we're going to be a little bit more methodical about that than we have been. We is me, my crack staff, feline staff. One half of them are over here napping comfortably. I don't know what kind of havoc the other one's rising, but you know, the 2 cats, the 2 dogs, and I are going to work diligently to get more of this research in English, not scholarly, whatever that is, that most of these things are actually written in. We'll break them down for you, show you how you might use them. It's an ad, it's not an upsell. So anyway, yeah, I know some of those that, you know, have the AC225 promotions where they're counting on everybody paying the $49 or $2,000 or ever it was to get the super double top secret stock. They might be mad. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Most of them, by the way, have been IBA associates out of Belgium. One was Bayer and one was Novartis of the ones that I read. Um, but you can take a look at them and decide for yourself which ones fit into your overall approach to biotech investing, if in fact you choose to have one. The Verdad research is fascinating. We're going to get this out there. We're going to share the names with you. I'll get the first one up this weekend. Thanks again for being a part of the Flagship Report adventure. The report will be out on time as usual on Monday. And hey, thanks for being a part of it. I hope you find us informational, educational, occasionally entertaining, and always profitable. Thanks, and have a great weekend and next week, everybody.